Hello everybody, this is my therapeutic craft presentation. I chose macrame wall hangings, and I chose this therapeutic craft because I love wall decor and have always enjoyed creating things with my hands. What I loved most about this craft is that it is relaxing, requires minimal supplies, and can be done anywhere in your home. According to the Occupational Therapy Practice Framework, this activity falls under the leisure category in the 8 areas of occupations. It can be defined as leisure, non-obligatory activity that is intrinsically motivated and engaged in during discretionary time. That is, time not committed to obligatory occupations such as work, self-care, or sleep. These are my macrame wall hangings. The one on the left was far more difficult than the one on the right. Objects used and their properties. The tools that I used were my hands with no properties. The supplies were a large dowel, which was wooden, a metal ring, which was silver, and macrame yarn, tricolored and black and gray. The properties of that, which I should have included, would be soft. The equipment was non-applicable. The tools used, once again, a wooden dowel, which is the short sticks in the bag, macrame yarn, tricolored and black and gray, and a large silver ring and a pair of scissors. The long stick in the middle I bought in the beginning thinking I was going to make a larger macrame. I ended up choosing otherwise because it was far more difficult and time consuming. Space demands. Space context. This craft took place in my living room. The size of the area needed to complete this occupation was roughly about 6 feet of space in my living room. The arrangement of objects would be the wooden dowel, silver ring, and assorted yarn. Surface considerations, soft carpet, and I used a yoga mat to support my legs and my when I was laying on my stomach. The lighting, adequately lit living room. Temperature and humidity considerations, non-applicable, but if you wanted to get specific, I would say medium temperature in the room. Average temperature. Sensory-based considerations. Soft yarn, rough wooden dowel, comfortable carpet. Ventilation considerations. Adequate ventilation. If you'd like to take a minute, you are more than welcome to press play to see my space demands. My goofy face right there, I apologize, but I kind of caught the video at a bad time. It's just going to explain the area that I was working in. Hi there, this is for the social and cultural demands. The project was done completely alone because it was a one-person job. I required 1 minute of help from my brother Brennan, and that was to take a picture of me working on this project. I intended for this to be a solo craft that would allow me to have me time. Macrame is symbolic for me because it represents meditation and self-care. Not only does it require focus, it helps relax you and keeps you in the present moment. I love being able to spend time alone working on this craft and listening to music. The cultural aspect of this project is that my mother loves wall hangings, especially handmade ones, and I chose this craft in order to make one for her and I. Sequence and timing. I spent roughly 2 hours each week on this therapeutic craft. Usually it took place after I got off of work around 6 p.m. each night. This time frame personally worked for me because I have a busy schedule during the day and have limited free time. If I did work on it during the day, it would be on a Sunday morning around 9 a.m. My steps plus my visuals will continue on the next 3 slides. So to begin, these are my detailed steps. Step 1, using scissors, cut yarn into 28 pieces, each 16 inches long, and fold in half. Step 2, lay yarn underneath wooden dowel and loop it over the top string and pull tight. Step 3, continue looping yarn strands until desired length is achieved. Step 4, hang macrame on wall and arrange strands evenly. Step 5, Using scissors, cut excess yarn strands into desired shape, diamond point in my case. Step 6. Trim any excess yarn strands and admire finished product. This craft was harder than it looks. These are pictures of my craft. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are here. Steps 4, 5, and 6 are here. Performance patterns. How did completing this occupation relate to your personal performance patterns? Completing this occupation related to my personal performance patterns by enhancing my gripping and coordination abilities. I am normally not good with my hands, however, this craft taught me to stabilize them and form each yarn row meticulously. Performance skills. Coordinates. I used one hand to weave each yarn piece through each hole, as the other hand steadied the dowel from moving. Grips. I had effective use of my fingers as they grasped each row of yarn and threaded it onto the wooden dowel. Manipulates. I used my hands without fumbling or shaking to braid each row. Required body functions. Specific mental functions. Attention, number 1. You need to be alert and focused to complete this activity. Memory, number 2. This activity requires you to remember which step you are on. Thought, number 3. Requires coherent thinking and awareness of one's actions. For the second required body function, I chose movement functions. Consciousness being the first, being aware that you are present in the moment working on this craft. The second, orientation, to person, place, self, and time / knowing where you are and identifying that you are working on this craft. On to the required body structures. Structure of the nervous system. It supports the global mental functions and sensory functions of body functions on the previous slide, and structures related to movement. Supports the specific mental functions of this body function on the previous slide. Safety hazards. Adequate lighting is in order to see properly. No objects that could interfere or fall on me as I worked on the ground. And aside from getting a splinter from the wooden dowel, there are little to no safety hazards that would prevent anyone from creating this craft. Grading. One way I would have made the task easier for myself would to have been to only pick one color of yarn. This is because I ended up having to rotate colors each time I wanted to make a new macrame row. One way I could have made this craft more challenging would be by adding double rings or double braids into the activity. This was too difficult for me, however, and I decided to make it less of a challenge. Adapting. To make an adaptation to this craft, you can use one color of yarn rather than 2. Also, instead of using a wooden dowel, use a large silver ring to thread the yarn through. I decided to make one macrame the traditional way, and the other was made by weaving the yarn through the ring and pulling it super tight. The latter of the two was far easier. I ended up actually liking the one that was easier too, a little bit more. Therapeutic values and outcomes. I experienced well-being while completing this therapeutic craft. As described in the Occupational Therapy Practice Framework, well-being is contentment with one's health, self-esteem, sense of belonging, security, and opportunities for self-determination, meaning, roles, and helping others. Well-being is a general term encompassing the total universe of human life domains, including physical, mental, and social aspects. I enjoyed the time it took to complete this activity and benefited from the relaxing time I had to myself to focus on this project. These are my references, and thank you so much for watching my presentation.